Hello, on behalf of everyone at Renegade Arts Entertainment, this is Doug Bradley welcoming you to Volume 7 of Spinechillers. Our opening story here is Edgar Allan Poe's William Wilson. It's partly a semi-autobiographical story, following his father David Poe's desertion of his young family and his mother Eliza's death shortly after the birth of his half-sister. Edgar was taken in, but never adopted, by his uncle and aunt, John and Fanny Allan, in Richmond, Virginia. John and his partner Charles Ellis decided on an expansion of their business, to open a branch of their operations in England under John Allan's direction. And so in 1815, at the age of 6, Edgar found himself crossing the Atlantic and beginning his formal education in Britain, first at Irvine in Scotland. Allan was of Scottish descent and spent time with his relatives on first arriving in Britain, before being enrolled at a boarding school in Chelsea in London, and then in 1817 at the Reverend John Bransby's Manor House School in Stoke Newington, which is now very much part of London, but was then about 4 miles outside the city. It is, in fact, just down the road from where I sit typing this. We could jump in the car and be there in about 15 minutes, and you might just catch hints of the misty-looking village of England, with its ancient houses and gigantic and gnarled trees, if not quite the stillness of its dusky atmosphere, which Poe describes in this story. It was this school which Poe used directly as the model for the school in the story, so closely that he didn't even change John Bransby's name, where his narrator, William Wilson, a fictitious title not very dissimilar to the real, he tells us, first meets his fellow pupil, the mysterious William Wilson, who not only shares his name and birth date, but walks and dresses like the narrator, and also talks like him, except for never raising his voice above the level of a whisper. From this psychologically intriguing beginning, Poe deftly weaves a classic horror story, and a world of plausible insanity that reminded me very much of the narrator of The Telltale Heart, particularly the similarities between Wilson's nocturnal visit to look upon the face of his tormentor and the visits of the telltale narrator to gaze upon the face of the old man. William Wilson was first published in the October 1839 issue of Burton's Gentleman's Magazine, and was included in Poe's first published collection of stories, Tales of the Arabesque and Grotesque, the following year. Like most of Poe's stories, it's been adapted several times for the screen, with Conrad Veidt playing the role in a 1926 German version, while Alain Delon also played the role in 1968 in a short adaptation directed by Louis Malle as part of the compendium film Histoire Extraordinaire. It is rather dull, though, in spite of the inclusion of Brigitte Bardot for a little love interest, but I do recommend the film for the segment called Toby Dammit, based on Poe's story Never Bet the Devil with Your Head, which stars Terence Stamp and was directed by Federico Fellini. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Horror of the Heights, first published in the Strand magazine in 1913, perhaps does for aviation what the stories of Jules Verne did for caving, submarining, and hot air ballooning. It is extraordinarily far-sighted in detailing the attempts of aviators to fly to the very edges of the upper atmosphere. Doyle delights in showing us a fairly detailed knowledge of aviation equipment at the time. Because almost nothing was known about what was lurking in the skies above our heads, Doyle could give his imagination free rein and successfully creates the heavens as a kind of mirror image of the depths of the oceans, with all its attendant dangers. Built around the literary device of a fragmentary journal which appears to have fallen from the skies, it's a unique fantasy story, successfully mixing horror and science fiction. Fasten your seatbelts. Ambrose Bierce's The Suitable Surroundings was published in Tales of Soldiers and Civilians in 1891. Typically with Bierce's stories, he takes the simplest of conceits. A writer of ghost stories takes offence to find a friend reading one of his stories on the morning trolley bus, not, he feels, the ideal place to allow his reader to let genuine terror take hold, and he weaves an extraordinary tale by chopping up the time frame of the narrative, presenting us with an opening tableau as impenetrable as it is memorable, strange and gruesome.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?